The day begins just like any other. The alarm rings, its insistent beeping cutting through the stillness of the early morning. The tired hand reaches out, silencing it, and with a groan, the body is dragged from beneath the covers. There's no urgency, no spark of excitement, only the weight of another day that needs to be endured. The routine is predictable: coffee, work, meetings, errands, and in the evening, some mindless scrolling on the phone or zoning out in front of the TV. But somewhere beneath the surface of this mechanical existence, there's a quiet voice whispering, distant, almost inaudible, telling you that this isn't all there is. It tells you that there's something more, something deeper, something that's been waiting for you to find it. Yet, the voice is drowned out by the noise of daily life. You silence it too, because confronting it would mean acknowledging the dissatisfaction, the longing, the unrealized potential. You might have heard people talk about this feeling. They'll tell you it's just a part of life. Everyone feels this way, at some point or another. It's just the grind, they say. The price you pay to survive in this world. The older generations dismiss it as youthful naivety, a yearning that will fade with time. And in some ways, they're right. Over time, you do start to adapt. You grow accustomed to the cycles, to the predictability of it all. You find ways to numb the discontent, the fleeting pleasures of social media, a new gadget, a night out with friends. But the more you numb yourself, the harder it becomes to hear that voice at all. And so, you resign yourself to a life of mediocrity. But here's the question: what if this is all an illusion? What if the mediocrity you've accepted as a fact of life is not the truth? What if you're not destined to live this way forever? Or worse, what if you're not simply stuck, but rather trapped by the stories you've been told about yourself and about the world? There's a certain comfort in knowing where you stand. Stability can feel like safety, but safety comes with a price. It's a kind of quiet prison, where the bars are invisible and the walls are made of your own limiting beliefs. This prison doesn't come with visible locks. Yet you can feel its presence in every mundane action you take, every decision you avoid, and every missed opportunity you suppress. It's not the kind of freedom that comes from adventure or exploration. It's the freedom of avoiding discomfort, of staying where it's safe. And yet, deep inside, there's a growing unease. Something feels off. Maybe it's the weight of your own potential that you haven't realized yet. Or maybe it's the slow, creeping awareness that you've been living for others, living for the expectations and norms imposed by society, by family, by culture. The more you stay within the confines of what's expected of you, the more you feel as though something vital is being smothered. It's as if the real you is a small flame, flickering and struggling against the suffocating weight of external demands. You may have tried to break free from this cycle before. Perhaps you've told yourself that you'll change, that tomorrow will be different. Maybe you've set grand goals or bought a self-help book, thinking that this time something will click, and you'll finally make the leap into a life of purpose and fulfillment. But when tomorrow comes, it feels like the same as yesterday. And so you start to believe that maybe the problem lies in you. You tell yourself that you're just not disciplined enough, or that you lack the motivation to really change. You start to doubt your ability to ever break free from the comfortable chains that bind you. But here's the thing: you're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not stuck. The truth is, most people are not truly lazy. They're simply overstimulated. They've been conditioned to look for distractions, to find temporary relief from the discomfort of inner dissatisfaction. In a world that constantly throws information, entertainment, and instant gratification at you, it's no wonder you can't focus on anything long enough to make meaningful change. The overstimulation keeps you from tapping into your true potential. We live in a society that has conditioned us to avoid discomfort at all costs. From the moment we wake up, we're inundated with messages telling us how to escape from our own minds. Buy this, watch that, do this, do that. It's a never-ending stream of external distractions designed to keep us from facing the inner turmoil we often try to avoid. And as we feed ourselves these distractions, we numb the very feelings that could drive us toward growth. But this overstimulation doesn't just affect our ability to focus. It also disconnects us from our deeper selves. Our true potential lies not in external accomplishments, but in internal mastery, the mastery over our own thoughts, emotions, and desires. We are constantly pulled in 100 different directions, never truly present with ourselves, never truly reflecting on what we want or what we are capable of achieving. When we look at our lives, we see the clutter, the noise that drowns out the truth that's been buried beneath years of habit, of doing what others expect, of doing what feels safe. But beneath it all, deep down, there's a yearning for something more. You know that the person you could become is trapped inside of you, waiting to be unleashed. It's not that you lack the tools or the knowledge to unlock your true potential. It's that the distractions and fears have kept you from recognizing it. We live in an age where personal growth is a marketable commodity. Everyone is selling you a new way to unlock your potential, a new shortcut, a new hack. But the real work, the transformation that truly breaks the chains of mediocrity, doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. It comes from having the courage to face the discomfort, to step outside the safe bubble of overstimulation, and to start asking the tough questions about who you are and what you want out of life. The illusion of mediocrity is powerful because it feels safe. It feels familiar. But it's a false safety, one that keeps you in a state of numbness, never truly experiencing the depth of what life has to offer. The truth is that unlocking your true potential is not about avoiding discomfort. It's about leaning into it, about embracing the uncertainty and the unknown that comes with growth. It's about breaking free from the illusion of mediocrity and stepping into the fullness of who you are meant to be. And that's where this journey begins. Not with a grand plan or a list of goals, but with a simple realization that the chains holding you back are not made of concrete. They're made of your own perceptions, your own fears, and your own conditioning. And the moment you wake up to that fact is the moment everything starts to change. So ask yourself, what if this illusion of mediocrity is just that, an illusion? What if you've been living in a comfort zone that's only served to keep you from the truth of who you really are? And what would happen if you were to step beyond that, to confront the discomfort, the chaos, the uncertainty, and in doing so, to unlock the true potential that's always been within you? The question isn't whether you're capable of change. It's whether you're willing to face the discomfort required to make it happen. The journey of self-discovery, self-actualization, and true freedom begins when you decide that enough is enough. When you decide that living a mediocre life is no longer an option. When we talk about unlocking our true potential, we are inevitably faced with the question, what holds us back? Why do so many people seem trapped in mediocrity, despite their vast capabilities and deep desires for something more? The answer, as it turns out, is far more complex than simply lacking motivation. At the heart of our struggle lies a psychological and philosophical tension, one between who we are and who we believe we are meant to be. To begin unraveling this, we need to delve deeper into the forces that shape our perceptions and behaviors. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, argued that the greatest barrier to our potential lies within us, the shadow. The shadow, according to Jung, is the unconscious part of our psyche that contains all the qualities, desires, and tendencies we suppress or deny because they don't fit the persona we've cultivated for ourselves. These are the traits that society, our families, and even our own internal moral compass deem undesirable or bad. They are the parts of us we repress, hoping they will fade into oblivion. Yet, Jung believed that these rejected aspects of ourselves do not simply disappear. Instead, they form the shadow, a part of our psyche that constantly influences our thoughts, actions, and emotions, often in ways we are not fully aware of. The truth is, the more we suppress the shadow, the more power we give it. Our unacknowledged desires, fears, and traits continue to manifest in unhealthy ways, be it through outbursts of anger, feelings of shame, or even deep-seated self-doubt. As long as we deny these parts of ourselves, we remain incomplete. The key to unlocking our potential, Jung argued, lies in confronting the shadow. By bringing it into the light, by accepting these repressed parts of ourselves, We integrate them into our conscious identity. Only then can we become whole, and only then can we truly begin to tap into the depth of our potential. But confronting the shadow is no easy task. It requires a willingness to face uncomfortable truths, to acknowledge parts of ourselves that we would rather ignore. It's not just about acknowledging that we have flaws or weaknesses. It's about recognizing the full spectrum of who we are. This process, known as individuation, is a lifelong journey. It is about peeling away the layers of societal conditioning and self-deception to reveal the authentic self beneath. Only when we do this can we access the full range of human potential that lies dormant within us. Yet, while Jung's insights help us understand the internal barriers to self-actualization, they don't necessarily explain the external forces that shape our lives. That's where Friedrich Nietzsche comes in. Nietzsche, the German philosopher, took a radically different approach to personal growth. His philosophy was not about integrating the shadow or reconciling internal conflicts, although these are important aspects of growth. Nietzsche's focus was on overcoming external constraints, particularly those imposed by societal norms, cultural expectations, and conventional morality. Nietzsche believed that the root of mediocrity in modern life is not just the repression of our inner desires, but the imposition of external values that limit human flourishing. In his famous work, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche introduces the concept of the Übermensch, Overman or Superman, an individual who transcends the conventional morality of society and embraces life's chaos, its uncertainties, and its challenges. The Übermensch is a person who creates their own values, who lives authentically, and who does not rely on societal validation or approval. Nietzsche believed that in order to unlock one's true potential, one must reject the herd mentality and the values that keep us small. Only by rejecting the societal norms that confine us can we truly become who we are meant to be. At the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy is the idea of becoming who you are. This means embracing the full spectrum of your existence, not just the socially acceptable parts of you, but also the wild, untamed, and often uncomfortable aspects. It's about freeing yourself from the shackles of cultural conditioning and following your own path, regardless of what others think or expect. The fear of judgment, the desire for social approval, the need for comfort. These are all chains that prevent us from stepping into our true power. Yet, Nietzsche does not advocate for reckless hedonism or egoism. He understood that true greatness comes not from indulgence in shallow pleasures, but from a deep inner strength. To become the Übermensch, one must develop an intense relationship with suffering. Nietzsche's famous idea of the will to power is not about controlling others. It is about mastering oneself. It is about confronting life's challenges head-on, with courage and without resignation. By embracing suffering as an essential part of the human experience, we are able to transform it into something meaningful. Only by embracing hardship and struggle can we tap into the deepest reservoirs of our potential. But while Nietzsche emphasizes the external barriers we face in society, Viktor Frankl, the Austrian psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, offers a different perspective. The internal barriers we face when confronted with suffering and meaninglessness. Frankl's philosophy of logotherapy is built on the premise that humans are driven by a fundamental need for meaning. According to Frankl, even in the most dire circumstances, such as those he endured in Nazi concentration camps, humans can find meaning in their suffering. It is through finding meaning in hardship that we can unlock the greatest potential for personal growth. Frankl's insights are particularly powerful when we consider the current age of distractions and superficial pleasures. In our modern fast-paced world, it's easy to be seduced by the illusion of instant gratification. We are constantly told that happiness is something that can be purchased or achieved through the next new experience. But Frankl challenges this assumption. He argues that true fulfillment comes not from external pleasures, but from our ability to find meaning in everything we do, whether it's a career, a relationship, or even suffering. For Frankl, the key to unlocking our potential is not in avoiding pain or discomfort, but in embracing them as opportunities for growth. It's through these challenges that we discover the deepest parts of ourselves. when we are forced to confront our own limitations, when we are faced with adversity. It is in those moments that we learn what we are truly capable of. In other words, the key to breaking free from mediocrity lies not in seeking a life free from suffering, but in finding meaning within suffering itself. Taken together, these three thinkers, Jung, Nietzsche, and Frankl, offer a compelling and multidimensional perspective on the barriers that keep us from unlocking our true potential. The shadow, societal norms, and the lack of meaning are all external and internal forces that conspire to limit our growth. But in confronting them head-on, in embracing discomfort, and in finding meaning in every experience, we can break free from mediocrity and step into a life of purpose and fulfillment. The central insight from all of this is that true potential is not something external to us. It's not a distant goal we must chase or an achievement we must attain. True potential is already within us, buried beneath layers of fear, conditioning, and distraction. It is a potential that can only be unlocked when we confront the deepest parts of ourselves and the external world that shapes us. The path to unlocking this potential is not easy. It requires courage, self-awareness, and a willingness to face both the internal and external forces that limit us. But once we begin this journey, the possibilities are limitless. And that's where real transformation begins. The journey of self-discovery is not an overnight transformation. It's a slow burn, a gradual awakening that demands patience, courage, and an unwavering commitment to facing the truth. In this moment, we find ourselves standing at the precipice of change. We've explored the external influences, the psychological barriers, and the philosophies that keep us tethered to mediocrity. And now, the time has come to take that crucial step. The weight of the realization is profound. Breaking free from the chains of mediocrity isn't about escaping life struggles. It's about transforming how we approach them. It's easy to believe that unlocking our true potential means some kind of external leap, a dramatic, life-altering event that propels us into greatness. But the truth is, the transformation happens within us, not in the external world. The real breakthrough comes when we stop looking for a sign, a person, or a moment to change us, and instead begin to look inward. The change is not in some future moment, but in the quiet decision we make in this very moment to start living differently. The shift begins with an understanding of what it means to confront discomfort. We've spent so much of our lives avoiding pain, discomfort, and struggle that the mere thought of facing these challenges head-on can feel terrifying. It feels easier to stay in the familiar, even if that familiarity is suffocating, because it's what we know. But here lies the irony. It is in the discomfort, the friction, and the tension that true growth occurs. The discomfort is not a signal to retreat. It is a sign that we are on the verge of breaking through to something greater. Imagine a muscle being torn in the process of lifting weights. It's painful, it feels like a breaking down, but it's actually a rebuilding, a strengthening, a refining. This is the same process that happens when we confront our own inner struggles. Every time we face our fear, our vulnerability, or our deep-seated doubt, we are tearing down the false walls that have kept us confined to mediocrity. It's through the breaking down that we are rebuilt, stronger, more resilient, and more capable of reaching the heights we were once too afraid to approach. The transformation we are talking about here is not linear. There is no clear path, no simple formula that guarantees success. The way forward is often obscured, and at times, we may feel like we are stumbling in the dark. This is where Viktor Frankl's insights into finding meaning in suffering come into play. Frankl's philosophy reminds us that no matter what we face, whether it's external chaos, personal failure, or internal turmoil, we always have the power to find meaning in it. And it is through that meaning that we find the strength to keep going. In Frankl's experience, it was the ability to find meaning in even the most horrific situations that kept people alive in the concentration camps. The moment we can connect our struggles to a greater purpose, our suffering ceases to be something meaningless. It becomes part of our larger narrative. This realization that our struggles are not in vain, that they are shaping us into something more, something stronger, allows us to take the next step in our journey. This insight is liberating. It tells us that we are not victims of our circumstances, but active participants in our own transformation. The very things that have held us back, the fear of suffering, the desire to avoid discomfort, the drive to play it safe, can be the very things that push us forward once we shift our perspective. It's a matter of embracing the challenge rather than running from it. When we stop avoiding discomfort, we start to realize something profound. Discomfort, fear, and pain are not obstacles to our potential. They are the very things that unlock it. This shift in perception changes everything. The process of growth no longer seems like a burden, but an invitation. Every moment of discomfort becomes an opportunity to grow, to shed an old layer of ourselves, to step into a version of us that we have not yet fully realized. At this stage, the key is surrender. It's about relinquishing control, the need to micromanage every aspect of our lives, the need to ensure that everything turns out as we think it should. This does not mean becoming passive or complacent, but rather, it's a willingness to step into the unknown. It's a surrender to life itself, a letting go of the need for certainty, and an acceptance of the mystery that lies ahead. The more we try to control our lives and the outcomes of our actions, the more we limit ourselves. Control is, ironically, a form of fear. It's rooted in the belief that we cannot trust life, that we must manage every detail to avoid disappointment or failure. When we let go of control, we stop holding ourselves back. We allow ourselves to become fully immersed in the process, knowing that it's not about the destination, but about the journey, the unfolding, the becoming, the growth. This is where Nietzsche's philosophy of the Übermensch becomes particularly relevant. The Übermensch is not someone who has achieved perfection or success in the conventional sense. Instead, it's someone who embraces the chaos, who dives into life with all its uncertainties and contradictions. The Übermensch is someone who has transcended the need for external validation and has learned to live authentically, according to their own values. As we begin to release the need for control and step into the unknown, we find that our potential starts to reveal itself. It's as if the very act of surrendering creates the space for us to be who we truly are. The transformation is not something we force. It is something that emerges naturally when we stop resisting it. It is a blossoming, a gradual unfurling of who we were always meant to be. At this point, we begin to witness the change. The mediocrity that once defined us begins to fade away. The walls we once hid behind, the fears we clung to, and the excuses we made all begin to crumble. And what emerges in their place is a person who is no longer afraid to live fully, to embrace the ups and downs of life, and to confront the challenges that once seemed insurmountable. This person knows that they are capable, not because of their achievements, but because of their willingness to face themselves, honestly and without fear. There is peace in this realization. It is the peace of knowing that the struggle is part of the process, that every setback is not a failure, but a step forward. It is the peace of knowing that you are no longer bound by the illusion of mediocrity, but are free to create a life that aligns with your deepest values and desires. And this peace, this profound sense of inner freedom, is what makes the transformation truly meaningful. The journey of self-actualization is ongoing. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you question whether you're on the right path. But in these moments, the key is to return to this understanding that the struggle, the discomfort, and the uncertainty are all part of the same process of growth. It is through these moments that you will continue to refine and redefine yourself, constantly evolving into the person you are meant to be.